Thank you for the introduction, and thank you for attending the session using the power of search for content visualization. So my name is Corinna Lins. Modern Workplace Fairy. It's a nicer description for modern workplace consultant. So fairy sounds a little bit nicer. Before I start to introduce myself, a couple of organizational stuff. Let's see. Okay, so announcing the SharePoint conference and Microsoft 365 collaboration conference. So the name has changed. The Microsoft 365 collaboration conference takes place next year, from the 23rd to 25th May. And also thanks to all our sponsors for making this online event possible. And now let's start with a short introduction about me. So my name is Corinna Lins, like I said. I'm working as a modern workplace consultant now for over 8 years. And I started initially with SharePoint, and in the last years, I changed more into consulting in the modern workplace regarding change management, but also developing solutions for customers in the collaboration area. In my free time, I'm working as a co-organizer for different events. For example, for the Microsoft Collaboration Meetup in Munich, Adoption Forum also in Munich, and the SharePoint Saturday in Munich. So I'm also living and working in Munich in Germany. And if I still have more free time, I'm going for paragliding. So that's my second hobby. Okay, but now let's go to the session content for today. So what are today's topics? Today I want to talk about visualization of search results in SharePoint. So maybe it scares a little bit. Why SharePoint? So it's easy, because if you search in Office 365 or in SharePoint on premises, generally all the documents, all your data is in SharePoint. So when you search, most of the focus is on content. The content is in SharePoint, and for this reason, I focus on SharePoint. So in the first part of the session, I want to focus on the now and then and see how you were visualizing the search results in SharePoint on premises in the classic design, and how you can do it today in the modern design. After that, I want to focus on out of the box options for search result visualization in modern SharePoint sites. There are a couple of out of the box possibilities. And in the last part of the session, I want to focus on the TNT Modern Search solution. So the TNT Modern Search solution is a solution provided by the community. It's a free solution, and you can use it in the modern SharePoint sites to bring back the old search results from the classic SharePoint. Okay, so let's start. Okay, so searching for content. When we search for content, generally, we use search engine. Yeah, if I'm searching what's an apple, I'm going on a search engine, on Bing, on Google, and I will find there the content I want. So when I'm in Office 365, my expectation is that the search functionality is equivalent to a Google search or a Bing search. But it's not so easy, because if you want to have a good search in Office 365 or in SharePoint on premises, you have to do a little bit of work. So today I will not focus on the work you have to do, because you have to provide the search with information. I will not focus on this. I will focus more on the visualization, how you can make the search results look a little bit nicer and prettier. And like I said at the beginning, why SharePoint? All our documents and files are stored in SharePoint, and for this reason, we focus on SharePoint. Okay, but before I start, I want to introduce you to some important terms. The first one is the search schema. So the search schema, when you talk about search, the search schema controls what users can search for and how users can search it. So generally, you don't have so many touch points with the search schema because SharePoint is doing this for you, but sometimes it's not this way. Then you have the result types. You use result types in the search in SharePoint and in Microsoft 365 to customize how results are displayed for particular types of documents. An example, a result type for PowerPoint defines how PowerPoint results should be displayed. Then you have the managed properties. The managed properties are part of the search schema. So every time you create a column in SharePoint, for every column you create in SharePoint, there is a managed property that is created for this column. If you create a column in a SharePoint list, the managed property is not created automatically. It's a little bit tricky sometimes because sometimes you're wondering why it's not created. And then another important term is the search query. So if you want to show some search results, you need a search query. And the search query defines the query for your results. And in SharePoint and Microsoft 365, you use the keyword query language to build search queries. So, good. These are the most important terms. And next, I want to give you a short introduction to the difference between classic SharePoint and modern SharePoint. But for those of you who don't know the difference, SharePoint Classic is available in SharePoint on-premises and SharePoint online. So in the past, in SharePoint on-premises, we had only the classic SharePoint. Since we have SharePoint Online and SharePoint 2019, we also have the modern design in SharePoint. And there is really a difference between this search experience. It's also in the UI. We will focus today more on the modern experience, and I will show you also later some demos in a SharePoint side. But I also want to talk a little bit about the SharePoint Classic because maybe some of you are still having SharePoint on the SharePoint server 2013 or 2016, and that's also an important part. So in the classic SharePoint, you have customizable search result pages. This means you have a search in the classic SharePoint, and if you say, no, the design is not good, the layout is not good, you can customize it. In the modern SharePoint, the global Microsoft 365 results page, you cannot customize it. Not yet. And in the SharePoint Classic search, you have standard search Webparts that are available, and you can use them. So it's search query Webpart, content query Webpart. In the modern SharePoint, you don't have. So now we've seen that there are a lot of advantages in the SharePoint Classic, but not only. So the SharePoint Classic search is only as good as configured. Of course, you also have to invest a little bit in configuring the SharePoint Modern, but in the modern search, the search is much more powerful. So as soon as you're in the Office 365 world and you're using the Microsoft Search, and the Microsoft Search is using the Microsoft Graph API. So it's an intelligent search, and it will show you the results that are relevant to you. And that's a very, very big advantage. And in the SharePoint Classic, coming back to the visualization of search results, the search results the visualization was made with display templates. And in the modern SharePoint search, the visualization can be customized only if you're using the GitHub solution. And I will show you also later some demos, and I will show you also the GitHub solution, how it's working. A couple of step-guns, I want to go back to the SharePoint Classic and tell you how the SharePoint Classic is working. But before, let's have one more comparison when we talk about visualization. I said In Classic, we do it with display templates. In the Modern Search, we need the SharePoint framework Modern Search Webparts Modern Search solution. Yeah. So in Classic, you have, when you say, okay, when you said in the past, okay, you want to customize the search results, you had to use the display templates. And these display templates were really a little bit strange. I've been working a couple of years with them, and you have an HTML file, and you're working in this HTML file, defining HTML code, but also JavaScript. And as soon as you save this HTML file, it's converted to a JavaScript file. So only this thing that it's converted, it's a little bit strange. You also needed to have JavaScript skills to be able to understand this display template. So it was really not so easy. In the modern sites, like I said, you have the GitHub solution that is free. It's using a templating system, so it's similar to display templates, but it uses handlebar. And you have a couple of available Webparts. So this solution comes with, I think, 4 Webparts, and you can use this Webpart. Okay. So one more time, let's go back to the search results with display templates in the Classic. You can see also here in the image how the search results are rendered in the Classic search. So if you, in the past, if you wanted to decide how an item display template is rendered, a result is rendered, you had to edit a template file that decides how every item is rendered. So this was the item display template. And then you also had a hover display template that was used. You can see it on the right side. The hover display template also was showing something if you were hovering over an item. In this case, the preview of the document. Yeah, and like I said, it's really complicated. You can still use the Classic search in Office 365 and in SharePoint 2019 if you want. So you don't have to use the Microsoft 365 search. But like I said, it's not so powerful, so you can use it, but yeah, it doesn't make so much sense. There are some people, I also know some companies that are using this. I don't know if it makes sense, in my opinion, not. Okay. So let's see what out of the box options for search results visualization we have in modern SharePoint sites. So first of all, searching in SharePoint Online. When we search in SharePoint Online, the default setting for searching in a site is the modern search results page. So as soon as I'm searching, I'm getting a results page that is the Microsoft 365 search. And this results page, unfortunately, is not customizable yet. So last year at Ignite, there was an announcement that this search results will be customizable in the design, but it's not yet implemented. If you want to customize the global Microsoft 365 search, you cannot. But we will see later that you have other options to do this. Okay. So when you search in, doesn't matter, in SharePoint or in Office 365, you have different ways of searching. Example, if you're in SharePoint, in a SharePoint site, and you search in the top search bar, you're searching in the whole site. If you are in a SharePoint list, you're searching in a SharePoint list. If you are in OneDrive, you are searching in your OneDrive. And if you're in the Office 365 portal, you're searching in Office 365, so not only in one SharePoint site. So that's the Microsoft 365 search. When you're working in SharePoint, you are able to set your own default result page per site collection. This means This doesn't mean that you can customize the Microsoft 365 search. This doesn't mean that. It only means that if you search in the search box, in this search box, you can define the page where your search query is redirected. And if you are using the GitHub solution with the search result Webparts, then it makes also sense to set your own default result page. I will also go later in some demos and show you some use cases when it makes sense to do this. Okay, so visualizing search data in modern SharePoint sites. So our goal is to visualize data in a nice way to achieve a better user experience. And like I said, first, we have the Microsoft 365 search page. That's the first option that is always available. Then we have out-of-the-box Webparts. We will take a look on them. After that, we have, I think, 3 Webparts actually. We have the news Webpart, highlighted content, and the sites Webpart. Then we have the TNT Modern Search solution. That's a free search solution, and it's also supported by Microsoft. And you can also define your custom solutions by using the Graph API. So you are able to access the Graph API with REST and create your own custom solution with the SharePoint framework. And all developments you're doing in SharePoint framework, as well as the TNT Modern Search solution, you can also use it in Microsoft Teams. Okay, so like I said, Microsoft 365 search page, the design will be soon customizable. I also don't know when it will be. The search results are personalized. So when you're searching in Office 365, you are getting personalized results. And the results are context-based, like I said, depending where you search. Okay, and then we have the out-of-the-box Webparts. The news Webpart, where you can define which news sources will be available, the highlighted content Webpart, and recent documents and sites. So there are not so many options in the out-of-the-box solution, but we will take a look on them, and yes, you can decide if it's enough for you for visualizing the content or if it's not enough. Okay, so let's switch to a SharePoint site. I'm just wanting to change to my portal. Okay, so I think you should see the portal now, my SharePoint portal. So I've created a site. It's Office 365, named Office 365 User Adoption Portal, and here I have different Webparts. This Webpart you can see here. This is the news Webpart if you haven't already worked with it. And if you want to customize this Webpart, which will edit the page and go in the Webpart. So let's go here and close this.
Corinna, really quick, you may want to minimize. Oh, it looks like you did it. You minimized the image.
I've minimized it.
Very good. Just checking. Proceed. Thank you.
Okay. So now we have here the Webpart and the Webpart settings. Here in the top area, you can define the design of the Webpart. That it's not so interesting. The most interesting thing is the news source, because here you can define where the content here is coming from. Actually, the content is coming from the site, but you can also select if you want the content in this news web part coming from other sites, yeah, from different other SharePoint sites. If I go on select sites, I can select different all the sites I'm using and set them as a source. And just a tip, I'm using a lot this web part, the news web part, not only for news, because you can use them really, this web part really very good. If you're just want to make some nice posts and like this site, user adoption portal, where you can publish some guidelines. Yeah, and if I select the third option, recommended for current user, so here this setting is using the Graph API and is showing me the recommended news from different sites. So here I can also see that I have here some news. These are coming from a site named Corporate Portal, and the second one is the same, and the third one is coming from this portal. So it recommends me the most important content based on the sites where I'm working, because you will have access to a lot of SharePoint sites, but you're not working in every site. You just have the access. So this is the first web part that is using the search functionality. The web part is also, so you can customize it here in the right side in the settings, but these are the only options you can do here. So the next web part we have is, I have it here, it's the highlighted content web part. So I could also add this web part. If you add a web part in the plus area, it's the highlighted content. So this web part, let's go in the settings and take a look. So in this web part, here on the right side, this highlighted content, I can make a custom query. This means that I define what I want to see here. So I'm the owner of this site. Yeah. So I'm just configuring it. And here it's using the keyword query language. So I've created a custom query. The source is the site. I can also change the source and say the site collections or different sites. And then I can define the query text. So I defined here the file type is PDF. So if you search for keyword query language or KQL, you will find a Microsoft reference with all the query possibilities to make these queries. And so, like I said, my query is file type PDF, or I can change it, file type XLS. That will be, I don't have XLS, so I have to make a doc X, for example. But I think I don't, okay. No, I don't have any docx. I don't have any Word documents. So let's change them again to PDF, because I know that I have here some PDFs. Okay, and you can also make just a filter and not using a custom query. If I change it to a filter, I can say, okay, the source is this site. I want to show only documents or pages or news, depending what you want to see. You can also filter by content types, and then you can make a sorting. So you'll have here also different layouts, but not too many. So you're really limited in the layouts. If this is enough for you, you can get information and data from different sites, different sources, but most of the time it's not enough. And there is also the recent documents and the sites web part. So the recent documents is really easy. It's just a web part that's showing the recent documents, and you can achieve it also with the highlighted web part. So it's not so powerful. And you have the frequent sites. That's just a web part that is showing the frequent sites used by you, by yourself. Okay, so that's all about out-of-the-box web part. Next, I would like to show you the PNP solution, because it's a really nice solution. I will go back to my slides. Okay, now you should see again my slides. And let's let's take a look on the TNT Modern Search solution. So imagine following thing. You have prepared your organization for change. You have adopted Office 365. You offered information events and trainings. You provided a lot of resources for your user. Pages with descriptions, handouts, guidelines, videos, FAQs, trainings, a lot of information for all new Office 365 tools. You've done everything, right? But there is so much information and data, and you need a pretty way to find it. Yes, because you have one site, like the portal I just showed you, and you have a lot of information on this page, and you just want to find the data now, yeah? That's the challenge. And if you're using the Microsoft 365 search, you can search for content, but you will find probably search in the whole organization, or you will find content you don't want to find. Yeah. So for this, there is the TNT Modern Search solution. And like I said at the beginning, it's a free solution, and it's comparable with the good old content search Webpart. If you have worked with SharePoint on premises, it's comparable to the content search Webpart. It's using a live templating with system with handlebar, and I'm not a developer. I'm working a little. I know what is HTML and working a little bit with CSS, and I can configure this solution and create some nice visualizations. So the TNT Modern Search solution includes 4 web parts: the search box, search results, search refiners, and search verticals. And let's take a look on the website. Let me show you the website, because there is also a website for this web part that explains with the documentation of the web part. You find it on the on GitHub if you want to download it, but you also can find it here on this site. I have all the resources I've used at the end of the presentation, so you can also find it there. So the TNT Modern Search solution, that's the website of the solution, and here you can also see a solution overview. I will also show you a demo in my site and in my use case to understand a little bit better. The nice thing here is that you can see also the web parts that are available. So these are the web parts, search web parts. So I'm using most of the time the search results web part. It shows search results in some way, and the search refiners, where you can refine search results very good based on metadata. And there is an explanation to every web part here, so how you can use it. And I said to you that there is a templating system with handlebar. So if you're going to the templating, you can see here that are already some available templates. They're nice, but you will probably want to create your own template design for the search results. And here in the documentation, you can find really a lot of information, how to configure it and all that stuff. Yeah. So when you, if you want to use the solution, what you have to do is to download the solution. There are always updates. So you have to, actually the current version is 3.12.0. You can find the latest release on the release page. I think the latest release is about 20 days ago, so you always get new releases. And you can download it from here, and it's already packed. It's already a package as an app. And you can install that app in your SharePoint app catalog. So of course, you have to be a SharePoint administrator to do this. And in the SharePoint, only let me just show you. I have here the SharePoint app catalog, and I have uploaded the solution here in the app catalog. I can also see here the newest version and compare it. Okay, 3.12.1. That's the yeah. I think here it's not updated because I have the current solution, and it's 3.1.2.1 and not 1.2.0. Yeah. Okay, so now let's go. One more thing I want to show you, Microsoft 365 search, because I haven't shown it to you. Let's republish this page. So this is the user adoption portal. Yes, the use case I said. You have a lot of information here. You see here different news. You see information about one-pagers for Office 365. Start working with Planner, and then a lot of other resources, FAQs, and a lot of stuff. But if you want to find something, it's difficult because a site like this has a lot of Webparts. It's complicated, and the first thing you're doing, you're searching. Yeah, here. And if I search here now for something, let's say handout, we found 0 results. Let's see. I don't know if I have a handout. Let's just see here. Okay, I have a start guide. Yeah, let's see here. Start guide, and I will find all the results that contain start guide, and this is the Microsoft search. And then I have here the filters where I can go and see, okay, which files contain the keyword start guide, which files contain the keyword, which sites contain start guide, and so on. If I search for a star, I'm searching for everything. I should see here all the results, so everything. Yeah? That's the Microsoft search. Okay, so if I say now I want to change the search result page, I could change as soon as I search here for I don't know, start guide or something like that. I will be redirected to another page and not to Microsoft 365 page. Yeah, and let's see now. Let's go back to the slide because I have one more slide that is important about the TNT Modern Search solution and about the roles. So, like I said, you can install it in the App Store. You need to be a SharePoint administrator. You can define templates if you want. If you're a developer, you can define render templates for power users. So I'm also not in the role of a developer. I will not do it, but you have the option to define templates and to make different layouts available for your power users. You can extend the search solution, also a task for developers. The solution allows you to develop your own web components inside of the handlebar templates. You can also write your own template. That's more for power users. You need to have some HTML and CSS skills. I'm most of the time writing my own templates, and you can define your own template. I will show you later. And you can also configure this Webpart. So this is a task for power users. You don't need to be a developer or admin. First of all, we will see how to configure this Webpart. Yeah. Okay. Let's go back to the site. So now what I want to do is I want to create a new page here in my adoption portal and configure it as a search result page. Yeah, I have installed the solution, so the search web parts are available, and now I want to create a new page. Let's say a blank page. Created. And so now I have a blank page. Let's say search results. Custom search results. Okay, let's make this top area smaller. And now I want to add the search web part that I have installed. Let's search here. So I have here all my available web parts, and here are the search results. Yeah, and I can add now the search results web part, and I need to configure it because now it's not showing anything. And here on the right panel, I can configure it now. I can say, okay, search query and intake URL format. Let's say maybe a star. it will show everything. And this is the standard layout. You have here 3 pages. On the first page, you define the search query. I will come later on the first page because I want to send queries from the global search box here, yeah? But we will come later to this. Then I go next and say, okay, my query template. Here I define what I want to show in my query. So now here I can filter. I don't want to see 1012 results, and I don't want to see any folders, and I don't want to see this how to use this library because it's not interesting for me. I want to see only the relevant content. So I have to define a query. I've already defined a query. Let me see. I will also explain it to you. Okay, so let me show you what I've done here. So I have created a query. Unfortunately, this let me open an editor to show this to you. Okay, so I think that's better. Yeah, so I have a query, and it says, please query the site, this site. So it's an FAQ list. I say, please query the list named FAQ, and please query a document library that is named shared documents, so the basic document library. So I will get search results from this list and this document library. That's what I'm doing here. You can configure really a lot. So you can also define a result source identifier. So here you can add a GUID of a result source if you want. You can change the sort order of your results if you want. You can edit sortable fields. And you can connect to other web parts. Yeah, like I said, the solution has more web parts, not only one, it has 4 web parts. Let's see. Search refiners web part. I want to connect it to a search refiners web part, but I don't have any, so I need to create one. Let's create one. Let's add a search refiners web part here on plus. So it doesn't want to find it. Then I will search here. So sometimes the namings are not the same. It's search filters. In the past, it was search refiners. Now it's called search filters. So I'm adding now the search filters that is already, again, named search refiners. And this new web part, now I'm connecting it to the search results. Okay. And I don't want to do anything else here, just have it. Yeah. And I'm going back to my search results web part here now. And I say, okay. I was on the second page. And here connect to refiners. Yeah. And now when I go here, I have the search filters. So now my results are connected to this filter. And this filter can filter now my search results. Okay. Back here, like you see, before I added the filter, I had 1,000 results. Now I have just 8 results. Okay, so if I go here now, I've added the query. That's my query. I have 8 results. Looks nice. Okay. And what can you do else here? So you can connect also to search verticals. It's similar to the search refiners. You can enable query rules or include personal OneDrive results if you want. And here are the selected properties. For example, if you have a document library and you have a column category and it's your own column and there you are saving categories relevant for your company, this property, you have to add this property here in this list. You just go on the drop down and select it from the drop down, this property, or if it's not here, you can add it in the text. So here you add the managed properties, so for the created columns. You can also add refinement filters if you want, and you can also define the language of the search request. Okay. You can make paging if you want. There are different paging settings. I will not go on the paging because it's trivial, but I want to go on the third page and here you have the layout and the styling. So here you can say, okay, I don't want a detail list, I want a simple list. It looks a little bit strange because this document is very long. Or I want tiles. That's looking a little bit better. Yeah? Or you can, yeah, you have here the predefined layouts. As a developer, you can create new layouts. So your power user can just come here, configure it, and select your company layout. Or you can add your custom code. So if I go here on custom, there is here the template, and you can add here a template, and you're using the templating with handlebar. So if you go here inside, editing the template, you have an editor, and you can add here your template. I've also prepared a template, and we will use it to show it. But you can also use an external template URL, so you can save it as a file, as an HTML file, and use it. It makes sense, yeah. But if you want to do a demo or a test, it's easier to work with editing the template. And you can also work with result types. Let me show you. I've created a layout that looks a little bit nicer than all this default layouts. Just let me see here. Let's delete this and cheat a little bit here. Okay, that was my layout. I will copy this also in the editor to show you because it's so small. Let's see here. So it's a lot of HTML. So the first part of it's not nice code, so don't get on this code, please. The first part is just a styling. It's CSS. And after that, it's starting with HTML. Yeah, you have here some HTML code. And in brackets, you are here in this bracket, you're using the handlebar templating. And for example, the easiest thing to understand is, for example, getting the title. So that's the title of my list item. Bracket open, title, and that's all you have to do. And you can also work here in handlebar with ifs and make some if classes, and yeah. Okay. So that's the template. Let's just copy it and see what's changing. Save. Okay. So that's the way it looks now. Yeah, it looks a little bit nicer. And now I have here the results from my site, the most important results I want the user to get. Okay. Let's make this a little bit prettier, nicer. Let's change the layout and move the filter here on the right side. And just add one more vertical section and move this here to highlight it a little bit and having a background. Okay. So now we have on the left side, let's publish it because we can go again in the editing mode to have it a little bit bigger. Yeah, so now you have here the results on the left side, and we have here on the right side the filters that are not showing everything because we have to configure them. Let's go in edit mode again and see what's happening here. No filter to display. Okay. So the filter is connected to my search result. I can also here edit the refiners. And I can say, okay, I want to show the date range. Hopefully it's big enough. I want to show filters. Let's say, okay, show them. And here are all the filters I want to define. So tax ID, the tags are very important. And the size of file, we don't need it because it's not so important. Yeah. Okay, we have tags and we have the created date. Let's say save. And just close it. And it should show the filters. I don't know why it's not showing them. but if it's not showing, it's not such a huge problem, because it sometimes takes a little bit. Okay, let's we will wait a little bit and maybe they come. Okay, so now I have created a new search result. You can create the design the way you want, work with handlebar, with JavaScript and all the stuff. In my case, it's just having a preview with a nice picture. I can also add some metadata here. For example, you can see it in my result. I've added metadata. Now that's an FAQ question. I want to invite guests in a team. How can I achieve this? I have a question, a response, and I have the filters, the metadata. So that helps me to filter on this item. Okay, let's see now. But what I want to do now, I want, when I search here in the site for something, for everything, I want to go on that page we just created, and not on the Microsoft 365 page, because we need Microsoft 365. We always need it, but it's not. Maybe in some use cases it's not so important. So now just let's go fast to the site settings and change the default search page. In the site settings, there is a let's make it a little bit bigger. In the site settings, we have the search here, the search settings, and we want to go to the search settings, and here in the search settings, you can change the URL. So which search results page should queries be sent to? I say, okay, I want to send queries to a custom results page. That's my custom results page I've created, and say, okay. And now it takes a little bit until when I search for something, I will get to my search results page. And it takes a couple of minutes. Yeah, let's see if it's already working. And if not, we can go back to the slide until we can come back to see if it's working. Okay, it's already working. So now I've searched in the search box in this site for something, in this case the star, and I'm getting the search results page here on the right side. Now we have the filters, and now I have here, I can also filter on, say, okay, I'm interested in content about managing permissions, apply it, and now I see, okay, that's my result I'm interested in. And you can add here results of every type: PowerPoint, videos, questions, list items, everything. Yeah. Okay, so that's the most important thing about the search results web part. Let's go back to the slides, because I have one more slide. So we've already seen the search solution, and I have a short recap for you because we are just in time. So you can still use the classic search in modern SharePoint sites if you want. It's not bringing you so many advantages, but you can use it. Modern SharePoint search is also available in SharePoint Server 2019, and in the modern sites, out-of-the-box web parts are not so powerful. So you can use the GitHub solutions if you want to work more with search. The TNT Modern Search solution is comparable with the good old content search, Webpart, and all the other web parts from the classic experience, and it doesn't replace the Microsoft 365 search. So in our case, we just changed the search box in that certain SharePoint site. And the design and layout of Microsoft 365 Search cannot be customized yet, but hopefully there will be soon a solution. If you're searching, there is a session from Ignite from last year, and there you can find the proposal that was made. Okay, so there are also some resources for this session. And first of all, I want to say thank you. I will take a look on the questions, and There is also a raffle, so you can attend a raffle if you want. There are a lot of giveaways, 3 Oculus Quest all in one. You just need to visit the vendor booth, submit your answers, and then maybe you can win them. And last but not least, there is a speaker feedback and event feedback, so please provide feedback as well for the speaker and also for the event. Okay, so now I will take a look on the questions. Okay. There is one question from Anonymous. So if we change the search page on a hub site, will it apply to all other sites? No. If we change the search page on a hub site, it will be applied to the hub site and not to the associated sites. So, and if so, is there a way to override it? So it will be not applied. You always have to apply it for each of the SharePoint site. And if you don't want to do it manually, you can do it at the page creation. So define, for example, a site design that already has the default search, the default new page. Okay. And there is another question about Graph and GitHub and about the documentation, if there isn't any documentation to share with the admins. So there is a documentation of the GitHub solution. There is a documentation of Handlebar in generally, the Handlebar, how to use Handlebar. There is a documentation how to use keyword query language from the Microsoft website. So I also have most of the links in my slides. Okay. Good. I think there are not any other questions. Okay, I see. There are some new questions. Yes, I can share the resources, of course. And there is a question if it's possible to scope the search to Azure blob data and expose the results in modern Webparts. I'm not sure if it's possible. I haven't tried it yet, to be fair. Yeah. Yeah, okay. I think we're done with almost of the questions. I think I will handle back to you, Ralph.
Very well. Thank you very much, Corinna. That was great. Let me quickly put on in between slide over here as we prepare for the next presentation. Okay. Thank you very much, folks. And go ahead and click on those links really quick. And don't